Story 1. Am I the booty hole for calling my mother-in-law out for excluding only me on the family girls' trip? So I get along with my mother-in-law in most of the time, but sometimes me and her clash. The only relevant time we've had issues was a few years ago when we were on a family vacation and we got into a massive fight. The long and short of it was I ended up missing an important family dinner at the restaurant my mother-in-law and father-in-law met at. Usually when I'm on vacation, I don't like to schedule stuff out and just explore and have fun. So I got distracted and I missed dinner. Last week, I learned that my mother-in-law and all my sister-in-laws are going on a trip to California this summer. Apparently, they have been planning this since last year, and I was specifically left out of all the planning. My sister-in-law said that the reason my mother-in-law chose not to invite me was because of the fight we had about that dinner years ago. I'm the kind of person who likes to deal with things head-on, no petty BS, so I called my mother-in-law up last night. She at first said it was not personal, that she wanted to plan a bunch of activities over the week in Cali and knew I was not the one for long planned itineraries. I said that was crap because I could come and still hang out with them at the beach and hotel while going to the planned stuff I choose. She then said she was not going to pay for a flight and hotel for me just for me to choose to stand up to everyone. Things got heated really quickly, and she ended up telling me that she swore to herself never to pay for another of my trips after ruining her anniversary trip like I did, just because I'm selfish and can't bother to do things other people want to do. This was complete BS, and I called her out on it. We ended up fighting and I hung up. I texted all my sister-in-laws, telling them I'm completely disgusted. They all would leave me out of this just because the mother-in-law has a petty grudge against me and cannot stop being a control freak for 5 seconds. Today I woke up to text after text telling me to grow up and that she was not the only one who didn't want me there. My husband supports me 100%, but apparently he got chewed out by mother-in-law today and he said now he's staying out of it. So now I'm starting to wonder if calling her out like this was too far and that I should have been the bigger person. I don't know though. Yes, in my opinion, I think that OP is the a-hole in this case. For one, she's not entitled to be included in this family trip. I know, yeah, she's married to the husband, but there are such things as nuclear family trips where the mother might just want to take a trip with her daughters independently of having any wives of her sons involved. So for her to assume that she would be included in the first place, I think was entitled. But then also I think she made it petty by calling out the mother-in-law for seemingly excluding her. I actually take the mother-in-law side in this because, yeah, especially if the mother-in-law was going to pay for the flights, then the expectation, at least my expectation, would be that everyone who's partaking in that free trip, the free flight that I'm paying for as the mother-in-law, that they would spend time with me and do things with me and my daughters on that family vacation. I wouldn't expect the mother-in-law to just pay for a flight so that they can be in the same state and then have the daughter-in-law go about her own business and explore and gallivant. That's fine that she doesn't like itineraries, but she shouldn't be expecting the mother-in-law to include her and pay for her flight just so that she can go on her own adventures. I think that's just bogus. Story 2. Police officer attempts to intimidate my patient, loses fight to physics. I'm a paramedic. A few months ago, we were coming back from a routine patient transfer when, at an intersection about 4 blocks from the base, I notice a woman sitting on the side of the road with her arms wrapped around herself and her head down. I nudge my partner, who's driving, and we flip on the lights, and I see her head come up real fast, and she looks terrified. I get out and she relaxes when she sees the ambulance. After I approach, I notice bruising on her wrists and other similar signs of domestic abuse. She seems hesitant to get up off the curb and into the ambulance, so I decided that I would at least pull the cot out of the back and give her something a little more comfortable than concrete to sit on. Now, a few important details. All the cots in my service are Stryker-powered cots. You've almost certainly seen these before. They're bright yellow with black handles and side panels. These cots have a motor and battery built in to allow us to raise and lower the cot at the touch of a button instead of throwing out our backs having to physically lift the cot up after loading someone. They're usually paired with an automatic loading system built into the ambulance that lifts the cot up to the right height to be pushed inside and also secures the cot when loaded. There's a little red tab at the end of the track, just inside the doors, that you press down to free the cot and allow it to slide out. When you press this tab, it simply releases the cot and the loading carriage it's connected to, and it's up to you to keep it under control until it reaches the unload position and locks into place again. This can be problematic because these cots weigh about 125 pounds, about 55 kilograms. As soon as I hit the release tab for the cot, I hear lights and sirens behind me. It's a city police car, which is weird because we had not yet requested police, and we were outside the city, in the sheriff's department jurisdiction. We merely informed dispatch that we were stopping to check on a woman at such and such intersection. The woman says something along the lines of, "Oh God, he's here," and moves faster than me, seeing free food being distributed at base. She dashes past me and pretty much hurls herself into the ambulance, sitting on the bench seat. The cop is approaching and he is angry. I put two and two together and slam the ambulance doors shut. Let's call this officer Police Officer Steve, or POS for short. POS. Is she in there? Me. Who? POS. You know dang well who I'm talking about. Oh, you mean my patient? I'm afraid I haven't gotten a name yet. Open those doors. I need to talk to her. You're not using my rig as an interview room. You can talk to her at the hospital. We went back and forth like this for a few minutes. My partner at some point came back to see what the holdup was, but overheard my stonewalling and went back to the cab to call our chief. I continue my routine of denial and delay until a pair of deputies, likely specifically requested for this by the chief, arrive. Oh, good. Now I have witnesses. See, we had stopped on an upwards incline. I had hit the release tab on the cot and it wanted to slide back. I had to close the doors so swiftly I didn't bother pushing the cot back against the stops and locking it in place. Emboldened by the presence of two deputies, he gets in my face. Get out of my way or I'm gonna have to be charged with obstruction. Okay, I step out of his way and he opens the double doors. Between the cot, the monitor, and the jump bag, I'd say there was probably close to 160 pounds contained by those doors, all of which comes barreling out and hits POS square in the chest. He goes backwards and falls on his booty. One of the deputies laughs aloud. The other walks up and kneels down beside the guy. He says, "Your shift, Captain, is going to be here in 5. I wouldn't be here then if I were you." POS gathers himself up and scowls at me, then stomps off. There's a limited amount that I can say about the aftermath, as the trial is not yet settled, but we all know how well charges stick to cops. The woman is now living elsewhere. The cop is still a cop, and I have been getting pulled over at least twice a week ever since then. But the video footage of him getting body checked by that cop remains one of the best things I have seen. Edit for clarification. Yes, the woman is married to POS. And yes, he is allegedly responsible for the abuse. Yummy, yummy, yummy. Isn't it so nice when that sweet, sweet karma is served up? And in this case, it seems like the cop got a very tasty faceful of that justice. I don't know exactly what it is, and certainly not trying to generalize, but there is that stereotypical trope of power-hungry cops that also partake in domestic abuse. And so it's just nice to see that in this case, he got what he deserved. Story 3. You can't just throw out a stranded pregnant mother and her toddler at 3 a.m. in the cold. Oh yes, I freaking can. Buckle up everyone for this bumpy ride. Okay, so I was chilling in my living room around 3 a.m. playing some video games. My parents are out of town visiting some friends, and I decided to stay home, house to myself and all. So here I am in nothing but a bra and panties when there's a knock on the door. What the frick? I think to myself. So I scramble to get my clothes on and I answer the door. It was a family acquaintance with her already whiny little brat. She's also visibly pregnant, and we'll get to why that part is important later. Me. Hey, name, what's going on? Her. My car broke down and the tow company can't come get my car until tomorrow. Think me and Brat's name can crash here tonight? Sure. You guys can sleep in the living room. I let them in. Want anything to eat or drink? Coffee, if it's not any trouble. Sure, no problem. So I go to make some coffee when I see little doo-doo head picking up my controller. Hey, little guy, please put that down. Oh, can't he play a game? No, I'm in the middle of something. Plus, he wouldn't know how to play that type of game. But he really wants to. Don't you, little doo-doo? I wanna play. No, you can't play. I wanna play, I wanna play, I wanna play. Throws the freaking controller at the TV, shattering the screen. What the frick? I rush over to the TV. Hey, don't you swear at my child. You just freaking let him destroy my TV like this. You're the one who didn't let him play the video game. I said no, and you have to teach your brat that he isn't owed jack doo-doo. How dare you? Just wait until I tell your mother how you treated him. You'll make a terrible mom. I'm not having kids, but if I did, I wouldn't let them be spoiled little craps like Brat. You are being the brat right now. Just get a new TV and quit whining. Yeah, I'll get a new TV with the money you pay me for the broken TV. What? But you are the one who instigated little doo-doo. You know what? Just get the frick out of my house. You and your brat are no longer welcome in my house. What the frick is wrong with you? I'm pregnant and have a toddler and have nowhere to go. You can't just kick out a stranded pregnant mother and her toddler at 3 a.m. in the cold. Oh, yes, I can, you insufferable chunt. Get the frick out of my house before I call the cops. Her picking her brat up and heading towards the door. Just wait until I tell your mother about this. Yeah, I'll gladly tell her about what little doo-doo head did to the TV and that you refused to pay for it. You'll regret this. Leaves. The next morning, I called my parents and explained what happened. They were very understanding because I was never raised to be a spoiled little jizz stain, and a momby chunt got an earful from my mom that if she didn't pay back, we would take her to small claims. She tried to play the, oh, woe is me, single pregnant mother, blah, blah, blah stuff, but it didn't work, and she forked over the $500 for the new TV, and we cut contact with her. Edit. In case anyone else was wondering, the reason Breeder and her poop stain were out at 3 a.m. was because little poophead demanded McDonald's and refused to go to bed unless he got it. I'm actually quite envious of this pregnant woman. She's got quite the cajoles. She's got big balls to just waltz up to this person's house, granted they're family acquaintances, but to then just request to stay over at that person's house out of the blue with no planning or warning given ahead of time. I know that her car was broken down, but I mean, we've got Uber, we've got, maybe they live in the country, who knows. Even then, she could have requested a ride back to her place, but no, she jumps right to, can we just stay overnight, me and my toddler? Especially if she's pregnant, I'm sure that she's got all these things she wants to be doing at her own house. It just seems like such a burden to put on the person. I would never think to even do that to my closest friends without giving them like a heads up first. So yeah, I'm kind of envious that she has the, I don't know what it is, confidence to just assume that she deserves anything. So good for her, I guess. Story 4. Am I the butthole for dropping our dinner on the ground and walking out when my boyfriend asked me, "What's for dinner tonight, witch?" I was over my boyfriend's apartment this weekend, and I was cooking dinner because he was studying for exams. I was making pasta and a chunky sauce with meatballs and veggies. I told him dinner was ready, and he goes, "What's for dinner tonight, witch?" With like a lot of emphasis on the last word. Emphasis? Spherical? I was fed up. I'd had a pretty rough day with work, and I have some awfully bad associations with that word being used by other people in my life who were pretty abusive. So I was so irritated that I dropped the pot of pasta sauce I'd been carrying right on the ground and was like, well, nothing's for dinner tonight now, and I better not hear you using that word again. It's for the girls. He was freaking out about how sauce had landed on his rug, and he even said, "You're seriously acting like a witch right now. I don't know what else to call it." I just walked out and got takeout for myself and went to my friend's house. She thought it was funny, but my boyfriend was furious. He kept texting and calling and sending me voice memos trying to explain that saying "what's for dinner tonight, witch" was a TikTok trend, and that he was just quoting something as a joke to put on TikTok. I thought that was the crappiest excuse ever. It doesn't matter if he saw it as a joke or stole the joke. it was still disrespectful. But it didn't change the fact that he thought that stuff was so funny to demean me when I was trying to do him a favor. Like, hell, I came over when he was studying to make a home-cooked dinner, and he decides it's time for jokes. So I put my phone on Don't Disturb for the night and split a bottle of wine with my friend and her roommate. The next morning, he was sending me angry texts, demanding I clean his rug because he was too busy with exams to do it. I was shocked. He left it overnight. That's disgusting. I texted him back saying, yeah, so that's the witch tax, honey. Leave me alone till you're ready to handle your own cooking and cleaning because this witch isn't anymore. Also, it's vile. You left that soaking in all night. He called me and told me that he was okay with doing his own household work, but I did throw a full pot of sauce at the ground, so that's on me to clean up. I told him, yeah, no, I'm not comfortable doing chores for you if you see me like your witch. He told me he didn't, and it was just a trend, and I got ticked off he was playing that TikTok trend BS excuse again, and I told him, well, I'm starting a trend called saucing, where, as a little joke, people throw pasta sauce around. You can't be mad because it's just a little trend, a little jokey joke, just a little prank, bro. He got really ticked off and hung up on me. And now I'm seriously wondering if this dumb freaking TikTok joke is going to be the end of things between us. Am I the a-hole for how I reacted when my boyfriend asked me what's for dinner tonight, which, edit to address a comment I've gotten a lot, and I don't have time to reply to every time. But did you tell him not to call you a witch? Like, how would he know otherwise? Honestly, if someone has gotten to the age of 30 and not realized that women, as a whole, do not like having demeaning slurs used against them, they're beyond my help. This isn't something that needs to be told. I shouldn't have to go through life like, hey man, just in case you were thinking I might like demeaning slurs against my gender used on me, I don't actually. And if you were about to comment something like that, let me just tell you in no uncertain terms, women do not like being called witches by men. Do not call women witches. If you needed to be told that is unkind, consider yourself officially told. Now you have no excuse to not understand. Now, this is a scenario I can totally understand and support, with someone showing up at a friend's house unannounced and requesting to stay over. She clearly didn't have a place to go back to that night. She was by no means going to go and stay with that bonehead of a boyfriend again. So yeah, I can totally get behind that. And I retract my earlier statement. But yeah, this guy, I'm actually glad that their relationship is on the rocks from this. Better for it to fall apart with something as stupid as a TikTok joke early on in the relationship than to just see how it will peter out later on in life. Because if this guy doesn't know that you shouldn't be throwing demeaning slurs at women like this and thinks that he can get out of it by just saying it's a prank, bro, and all that jazz, then yeah, he was bound to just fail with this relationship from the get-go. So I think ultimately it was a happy ending. Please leave your stories in the comments. I'd love to make a video of them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.